She left at 8 p.m., said it's just a quick drink with the neighbors for Halloween. I stayed home, handed out candy to kids. At 2 a.m., she still wasn't back. Her phone went straight to voicemail. I walked 2 houses down and rang the bell. That's the short version, the version that makes sense when you're explaining it to a lawyer or a marriage counselor. But nothing falls apart fast, not really. It builds slowly, like rust on metal. You just don't see it until the whole structure collapses. My name is Tom Brennan. I'm 43 years old. For the past 18 years, I've worked as an HVAC technician. I fix furnaces when they break in January, repair air conditioners when they die in August. I crawl through attics and basements, but it pays well. Well enough that we bought a nice 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood with manicured lawns and nice neighbors. Lisa and I met 16 years ago. She was a dental hygienist, funny, warm, with this infectious laugh. From the outside, we looked perfect. But somewhere in the last 2 years, something shifted. Nothing dramatic at first. No screaming matches or thrown plates or nights spent sleeping on the couch. Just small things that added up. She started staying up late on her phone after I'd gone to bed, the blue light from the screen glowing under the bedroom door, laughing at messages she wouldn't share. When I asked who she was texting, she'd say it was just her sister or a friend from work, making plans without telling me until the last minute. Girls' nights that seemed to multiply. Buying new clothes, expensive ones, that I never saw her wear around the house. When I asked if everything was okay, she'd smile that smile I'd fallen in love with and say she was fine. Just tired, just stressed, just needed some space to herself. I believed her because I wanted to, because questioning her meant questioning everything we'd built together, and I wasn't ready for that. So I told myself it was a phase, that marriage goes through seasons and this was just a cold spell, that we'd find our way back. I was wrong. Then came Halloween. We live on Maple Drive, one of those suburban streets where people take holidays seriously. Every October, the entire neighborhood transforms into something out of a movie. Fake tombstones scattered across every lawn, skeleton displays hanging from trees, giant inflatable monsters on porches glowing in the dark. The Hendersons, 3 houses down, turn their garage into a haunted house every year, complete with fog machines and volunteer teenagers in monster costumes. The Chins across the street play spooky sound effects from speakers hidden in their bushes, timed to motion sensors so kids get jump scared when they walk by. And the Parkers, our neighbors 2 doors over, host an annual Halloween party for the adults once the trick-or-treating winds down. Tom and Michelle Parker, both mid-40s, no kids, both pulling 6-figure salaries working in finance downtown. They'd lived on Maple Drive for about 5 years. We weren't close friends, but we were friendly in that suburban way. Waved when we saw each other pulling out of driveways, made small talk about the weather and property taxes and how the city needed to fix the potholes on our street. Every year, without fail, they'd invite all the neighbors over for drinks and appetizers on Halloween night, usually starting around 9 p.m. after the trick-or-treaters had mostly cleared out. Lisa had been talking about the Parker party for weeks, more than usual. She bought a new costume online, some black dress with a witch hat, paid extra for rush shipping. Spent over an hour on her makeup that night, perfecting the dark lipstick and smoky eyes. She seemed more excited about this party than she'd been about anything in months, maybe years. "You're coming tonight, right?" she asked me on Halloween morning while I was eating cereal at the kitchen table. I was in my work clothes, about to head out to a service call. "I don't know. I've got an early appointment tomorrow morning in Worthington. Commercial building, big job. Might just hand out candy and turn in early." She frowned, just slightly. Just enough that I noticed, but not enough that I could call her on it. "Come on, Tom. It'll be fun. We never do anything together anymore." That stung, because it was true. And it stung more because she was the one who'd been pulling away, declining my suggestions for date nights, saying she was too tired to go out. But I didn't say that. I just shrugged and said we'd see. By 7 p.m. that evening, I'd already made my decision. I was staying home. I'd spent the day crawling through a filthy crawl space under an old house in Clintonville, breathing in insulation fibers and mouse droppings. My back hurt, my knees hurt, everything hurt. The thought of standing around making small talk with Tom Parker about investment portfolios and mortgage rates made me want to sleep for a week. Lisa got ready upstairs. I heard the hairdryer running, heard her moving around the bedroom. When she finally came downstairs at 7:45, she looked good, really good. The kind of good that reminded me why I'd fallen for her in the first place. The dress hugged her figure, the makeup made her eyes stand out. She'd even put on perfume, something sweet and subtle that I hadn't smelled on her in a long time. "You look great," I said from my spot on the couch. "Thanks." She checked her phone, barely glancing at me. "You're sure you're not coming?" "Yeah, I'm beat. You go ahead, have fun. I'll hold down the fort here and hand out candy." She hesitated. For just a second, I thought I saw something cross her face. Guilt? Relief? I couldn't tell. Then she smiled, that practice smile that didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. "Okay, I won't be late." She kissed me on the cheek, the kind of quick peck you give your brother, grabbed her purse from the counter, and walked out the door. Through the living room window, I watched her walk down our driveway in her heels, turn left on the sidewalk, and disappear toward the Parker house. I settled into my recliner, put a big plastic bowl of candy on the side table next to me, and waited. Between 7:30 and 9:30, we had maybe 50 kids, superheroes and princesses and zombies and dinosaurs. I complimented costumes, dropped candy into pillowcases and plastic pumpkin buckets, waved to parents waiting on the sidewalk with flashlights. By 10 p.m., the street had gone quiet. Jack-o'-lanterns still glowed on porches, but the foot traffic had died. Porch lights started turning off one by one. I put the leftover candy in the pantry and checked my phone. No messages from Lisa. I texted her, "How's the party?" The message showed as delivered. No response. I told myself not to worry. She was having fun. Her phone was in her purse. The music was probably loud. She'd text back soon. By 11 p.m., I was in bed with the TV on, half watching some late-night movie I'd seen before. Still no response from Lisa. By midnight, I tried calling. It rang once, then went straight to voicemail, like she'd declined the call. That's when the worry shifted into something else. Not panic, not yet. Just a cold, creeping certainty in my gut that something was wrong. That same instinct that had been whispering to me for 2 years, the one I'd been ignoring because it was easier than confronting the truth. I got out of bed, pulled on jeans and a hoodie over my t-shirt, grabbed my keys and phone, and walked out into the night. Maple Drive was dark and eerily quiet. A few porch lights still glowing orange. Fake cobwebs fluttering in the cold breeze. Inflatable monsters deflating slowly on lawns as timers shut them off. My breath came out in visible clouds. October in Ohio is unpredictable. Could be 70 degrees or 35. Tonight it was cold, maybe 40. I walked down the sidewalk, hands in my pockets, and stopped in front of the Parker house. The lights were still on inside. I could hear music playing, something with a bass beat. Faint laughter floating through the windows. There were 3 cars still in the driveway. I recognized one of them immediately. Lisa's silver Honda Accord, parked at an angle like she'd been in a hurry. I stood there on the sidewalk for a long moment, phone in my hand, trying to decide what to do. I could turn around, go home, crawl back into bed, wait for her to come back on her own. Pretend I hadn't noticed the time, or the ignored texts, or the declined call. But I'd been pretending for 2 years, pretending I didn't see the signs, pretending everything was fine. I was done pretending. I walked up the driveway, past the parked cars, across the porch decorated with fake spider webs, and rang the doorbell. Footsteps inside. The door swung open. Tom Parker stood in the doorway, tie loosened around his neck, top button undone, rocks glass with amber liquid in his hand. He looked genuinely surprised to see me standing there. "Tom, hey man, didn't know you were coming tonight." "Yeah, change of plans. Is Lisa still here?" He glanced back over his shoulder into the house, then back at me. His smile was just a bit too wide.
Yeah, I think so. Come on in, man." I stepped inside. The house smelled like wine and scented candles and cheese. The living room was to my right. There were maybe 10 people left, scattered around in small groups. Michelle Parker was on the couch, deep in conversation with a couple I vaguely recognized from the neighborhood. A few others stood by the kitchen island, picking at what was left of a cheese and cracker spread. Someone had put a Halloween playlist on the speakers, something upbeat and forgettable. Lisa wasn't among them. "Where is she?" I asked Tom. He gestured vaguely toward the hallway on the left side of the house. "I think she went to use the restroom. Want a beer or something while you wait?" "No, thanks." I walked past him, past the small groups of neighbors who barely glanced at me, and down the hallway. My heart was starting to pound now, blood rushing in my ears. There were 3 doors along the hallway. One was open, a bathroom, light on but empty. The second door was closed. I knocked lightly. No answer. I opened it slowly. A guest bedroom, dark and silent. I could make out the shape of a bed, a dresser. Empty. The third door, at the very end of the hallway, was closed, but I could see light beneath it, a thin strip of yellow against the hardwood floor. I walked toward it. Each step felt heavy, like walking through water. My hand reached for the doorknob. It was cold under my palm. The door wasn't locked. I twisted the knob and pushed the door open.
The bedroom was lit by a single lamp on the nightstand, casting soft yellow light across the room. And there, sitting on the edge of a king-size bed, was my wife. She wasn't alone. A man sat next to her, maybe a foot of space between them, mid-30s, tall, dark hair styled with too much product, expensive-looking button-down shirt. I didn't recognize him. His left hand was on her knee. They were both holding drinks, laughing about something. When the door opened, they both froze, heads snapping toward me, eyes wide. Lisa's face went completely white. The color just drained out of it. The man stood up quickly, pulling his hand back like he touched a hot stove. He raised both hands in front of him. "Whoa, hey man, we were just—" "Get out." My voice was calm, dangerously calm, the kind of calm that comes right before violence or complete breakdown. I'm not sure which I was closer to. He didn't argue. He grabbed his drink off the nightstand and brushed past me without making eye contact. I heard his footsteps retreat quickly down the hallway. Lisa stood up slowly, smoothing down her black dress with shaking hands. "Tom, this isn't what it looks like. Don't." She stopped mid-sentence. I stepped into the room and closed the door behind me with a soft click. We stood there, maybe 10 feet of carpet between us, the silence pressing down like a physical weight. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice still calm, still cold. "His name is Ryan. He works with Tom Parker downtown." "How long?" She looked away, focusing on a spot on the wall over my shoulder. "Tom, please, let's not do this here." "How long, Lisa?" She closed her eyes. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. 4 months. 4 months. 120 days. A third of a year. All those nights she stayed up late on her phone. All those mysterious plans and new clothes and excuses. 4 months. I nodded slowly. "Okay." She looked at me confused, maybe even a little hopeful, like she thought that single word meant forgiveness. "Okay? Yeah, okay. I just needed to know." I turned and opened the door. "Tom, wait." I didn't wait. I walked down the hallway, past the bathroom, past the guest bedroom. When I emerged into the living room, every conversation stopped. 10 pairs of eyes turned toward me. The music was still playing, but no one was listening to it anymore. Tom Parker was standing by the kitchen island, frozen mid-sip of his drink. I walked past him, past Michelle Parker on the couch, past all of them. Out the front door, across the porch, down the driveway. The cold October air hit my face like a slap, but I welcomed it, needed it. I walked back down Maple Drive to my house. The jack-o'-lantern on our porch had burned out. I unlocked the front door and went inside. I didn't turn on any lights. I just sat down in the living room, in my recliner, in the dark, and stared at nothing. I didn't feel angry, not yet. That would come later.
In that moment, I just felt numb, like I was watching everything happen to someone else. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been 20 minutes, could have been 2 hours. Time felt broken. Lisa came home at 3:30 a.m. I heard her car pull into the driveway, heard the engine cut off, heard her door open and close, heard her heels clicking on the front walkway, then the sound of her key in the lock. The front door opened. She stood there in the doorway, silhouetted against the streetlight behind her, looking at me sitting in the dark. "Tom," she said. Her voice was thick, like she'd been crying. "Tom, I'm so sorry. Please, can we talk about this?" "Not tonight." "Please, I need to explain." "There's nothing to explain. I saw everything I needed to see." She stood there for another moment, then slowly walked past me toward the stairs. I heard her climb each step, heard the bedroom door close upstairs, heard the muffled sound of crying through the ceiling. I stayed on the couch and stared at the wall until the sun came up. The next morning, Saturday, I waited until Lisa was in the shower, then went into the garage and dug through my toolbox until I found a business card I'd kept. Bill Hayes, attorney at law. I'd done some HVAC work for his office a few years back. He'd given me his card, told me to call if I ever needed legal help. I never thought I would. I called the number. It was 8 a.m. on a Saturday, so I expected voicemail, but he answered on the third ring. "This is Bill." "Mr. Hayes, this is Tom Brennan. I don't know if you remember me. I did some repair work on your office." "Tom, sure, I remember. What can I do for you?" I took a breath. "I need to file for divorce." We met Monday morning in his office. Modern furniture, law books on shelves, framed degrees on the wall. He offered me coffee. I accepted. We sat down across from each other and I told him everything. The party, the bedroom, the 4 months, the years of small signs I'd ignored. He took notes on a yellow legal pad, asking questions occasionally, nodding. "Ohio's a no-fault divorce state," he explained when I finished. "That means we don't need to prove infidelity to get the divorce, but it can still be relevant for things like spousal support, asset division, and custody if you have kids. We have a son, Jake, he's 13. Bill nodded. "Okay, in custody cases, the court considers what's in the best interest of the child. Your wife's infidelity might not directly impact custody, but if you can show a pattern of behavior that affects her ability to parent, that could matter. Do you have any proof? Photos, text messages, emails?" "I saw them together. I can testify to that." "That's good, but more evidence is better. Judges like documentation." I left his office an hour later with a folder full of paperwork to fill out and a plan forming in my mind. Bill was right. I needed more than just my word. I needed proof, not just for the court, but for me, to know the full scope of what had been happening behind my back. That afternoon, while Lisa was out picking up Jake from a friend's house, I went into our bedroom. Her laptop was sitting on the dresser where she always left it. She'd never been careful about security. Passwords written on sticky notes, devices left unlocked. I opened it. No password required. I opened her email first. What I found made my stomach drop. Emails going back 5 months, not 4 like she'd said, 5. Hundreds of messages between her and Ryan. Some were casual, plans to meet for coffee, complaints about work, but others were explicit, detailed. Plans to meet at hotels on weekends when I thought she was at her sister's, at his apartment downtown, even at our house, in our bed, while I was at work and Jake was at school. There were photos attached to some emails. I clicked on one, then immediately closed it. I didn't need to see more. I already knew enough. I created a new folder in her email labeled Old Receipts and moved all the emails there. Then I forwarded every single one to my personal email address, every message, every photo, every piece of evidence. It took 20 minutes. When I was done, I closed the laptop and put it back exactly where I'd found it. Then I went downstairs, sat at the kitchen table, and waited for her to come home. Bill Hayes had his evidence. I filed for divorce on Wednesday.
Lisa was served with papers on Thursday afternoon while I was at work. When I came home that evening, she was sitting at the kitchen table, the documents spread out in front of her, mascara streaked down her face. "Tom, please," she said when she saw me. "We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but I love you. I love our family. We can work through this." I stood in the kitchen doorway, still in my work uniform, grease under my fingernails. "Did you love me when you were with him?" She looked down at the table. "Did you love our family when you brought him into our house, into our bed, while our son was at school?" "Tom, I want you out by the end of the week." Her head snapped up. "What? Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't care. Go to Ryan's place. Go to your parents. Go to a hotel. But you're not staying in this house." "This is my house too." "Not for long. Read the papers. My lawyer's already filed for everything. The house, primary custody of Jake, division of assets. You brought this on yourself." Her face crumpled. She put her head down on the table and sobbed. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt. Just empty. I turned and walked upstairs to Jake's room. He was at his desk, headphones on, doing homework. I knocked on the doorframe. He pulled off the headphones. "Hey, buddy, can we talk?" He looked nervous. Kids always know when something's wrong, even when you try to hide it. I sat on the edge of his bed and told him, as gently as I could, that his mom and I were separating, that we were going to get divorced, that it wasn't his fault and that we both loved him. I didn't tell him about the affair, not yet. He was too young for those details. He cried. I held him, and I promised him that no matter what happened, I'd always be there. Lisa moved out that Saturday. She stayed with her parents for a while, then found an apartment closer to downtown. Jake stayed with me. We fell into a new routine. Breakfast together before school, homework at the kitchen table, dinner most nights, weekend basketball games at the Y. The divorce took 8 months. Lisa fought for custody. She fought for the house. She fought for half of everything we'd built together. Her lawyer was aggressive, painting me as a workaholic who was never home, who didn't know his own son. But Bill Hayes was better. He presented the emails, the photos, the timeline, the lies. The judge, a woman in her 60s with reading glasses and a stern expression, was not impressed by Lisa's excuses. In the end, I got primary custody of Jake, the house, and most of our shared assets. Lisa got her car, some savings, and visitation rights every other weekend and Wednesday evenings. She moved in with Ryan for a while after the divorce was finalized. That relationship lasted about 3 months before it imploded. She called me one night, drunk and crying, saying he left her for someone else, that she'd made a terrible mistake, that she wanted to come home. I told her there was no home to come back to, not for her. I hung up. That was 2 years ago. Jake's 15 now, sophomore in high school. He made the varsity basketball team this year. He's doing well, gets good grades, has friends, smiles more now than he did during those first few months after the divorce. He sees his mom every other weekend. They have lunch sometimes on Wednesdays. It's civil, not warm, but civil. I think Jake's forgiven her, in his own way. Kids are resilient like that. I still live on Maple Drive, still fix furnaces and air conditioners for a living, still hand out candy on Halloween, though I don't go to the Parker parties anymore. Actually, there are no more Parker parties. Tom and Michelle moved away about 6 months after the divorce. Apparently, word had spread through the neighborhood about what happened that Halloween night, and Michelle wasn't thrilled about being associated with the scandal. They sold the house quietly and moved to a different suburb. I didn't say goodbye. I don't miss them. Sometimes, late at night when the house is quiet and Jake's asleep upstairs, I think about that Halloween, about walking down the street in the cold, about ringing that doorbell, about opening that door and seeing my wife sitting on the bed with another man's hand on her knee. I think about what might have happened if I'd stayed home that night, If I'd ignored the unanswered texts and the declined call and the instinct in my gut telling me something was wrong, maybe I'd still be married. Maybe I'd still be living in that fog of denial, pretending everything was fine while my wife continued her affair. But I'm not, and I won't, because silence is comfortable, denial is easy, but truth, no matter how painful, is better. And now, for the first time in years, I can breathe. I found out later, through a mutual friend who still kept in touch with Lisa, that Ryan wasn't the first. There had been another guy the year before, a coworker from her old dental office where she'd worked part-time. That affair had lasted about 2 months before she'd ended it. I'd never known, never suspected. 2 affairs that I knew about, maybe more that I didn't. I stopped asking, stopped caring about the details. Jake asked me once, about a year after the divorce, why I didn't try to work things out with his mom, why I didn't fight for the marriage. A lot of his friends' parents were divorced, but some had tried counseling, separation, reconciliation. I told him the truth, as much of it as he could handle. Some things can't be fixed, buddy, and some things aren't worth fixing. Your mom made choices, I made choices, and sometimes you have to accept that and move forward. He nodded slowly. He understood more than I gave him credit for. These days, I keep my circle small. I focus on work, on Jake, on rebuilding a life that feels honest and real. I started going to the gym last year, lost 25 pounds, started reading again, something I'd stopped doing. Small changes, but they add up. I even started dating someone a few months ago. Her name is Sarah. She teaches English at Jake's high school. We met at a parent-teacher conference last spring. Started talking, discovered we had a lot in common. Coffee turned into dinner, dinner turned into regular dates. It's early, I'm not rushing anything, but it feels right, natural, real in a way my marriage hadn't felt in years. Jake likes her. That's what matters most. Lisa called me a few weeks ago. First time in months. Says she wanted to talk, that she needed closure. I told her we didn't have anything to talk about, that the divorce papers gave us all the closure either of us needed. She didn't call back. I don't hate her anymore. I did for a while. That first year, I hated her with an intensity that scared me sometimes. But hate takes energy. It consumes you if you let it. And I don't have energy to waste on her anymore. She made her choices. I made mine. We both have to live with them. And if I had to make those choices again, I would. Every single one. Every Halloween now, when I sit on the porch handing out candy to neighborhood kids in their costumes, I think about that night 2 years ago. About the moment I opened that bedroom door, about the look on Lisa's face when she saw me standing there. I don't regret it, because some doors need to be opened. Some truths need to be faced, no matter how much easier it would be to walk away. And some marriages, no matter how much you want them to work, are already over long before you admit it to yourself. Mine was. I just needed proof. And on Halloween night at 2 a.m., I got it. People ask me sometimes, usually when they hear my story, if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. If I'll ever let someone in the way I let Lisa in. If I'll ever stop looking over my shoulder. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I know this. I'll never ignore my instincts again. I'll never silence that small voice in my head that tells me something's wrong. I'll never choose comfort and denial over truth and pain. Because the truth might hurt in the moment, but lies hurt forever, and I'm done with lies. Jake's doing well, really well. He made honor roll last semester, started talking about colleges, even though he's only a sophomore. Wants to study engineering, maybe. He's got his whole life ahead of him, and I'm going to make damn sure he knows how to spot the warning signs I missed, how to trust his gut, how to demand honesty, how to walk away when staying means losing yourself. That's the gift I can give him, the lesson I learned the hard way. Lisa's still in town, still working as a dental hygienist at a practice downtown. She dates occasionally, from what I hear through Jake, but nothing serious. I don't keep track. Her life isn't my concern anymore. We see each other at Jake's basketball games sometimes, sit on opposite sides of the gym, exchange polite nods across the bleachers. Nothing more. It's enough. I sold the old recliner last year. The one I've been sitting in that Halloween night, handing out candy, waiting for Lisa to come home. It felt cursed somehow, like a monument to my own blindness. Bought a new couch instead, something modern and comfortable, something that's just mine, with no history attached. The whole house feels different now, lighter, like I exorcised a ghost I didn't even realize was haunting me. Last Halloween, I took Jake and Sarah to the neighborhood haunted house the Hendersons put on. We laughed at the jump scares, ate popcorn, walked around looking at all the decorations. It was simple, easy, normal. That night, after Jake went to bed, Sarah and I sat on the back porch with mugs of hot chocolate. She knew bits and pieces of my story, but had never pushed for details. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "Do you ever regret how you handled it, going to the party that night?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "No," I said finally. "I regret a lot of things. Ignoring the signs for so long, not trusting myself sooner. But going to that party, opening that door? No, I needed to see it. I needed to know for sure. Otherwise, I'd have spent the rest of my life wondering, making excuses for her, giving her the benefit of the doubt she didn't deserve." Sarah nodded. "You did the right thing." "I know, and I did. I do."
Sometimes I drive past the old Parker house. There's a new family living there now, young couple with a toddler. I see them in the yard sometimes, planting flowers in the spring, building a snowman in the winter, normal family stuff. I wonder if they know what happened there. If the realtor disclosed it during the sale? Probably not. It's not the kind of thing that has to be legally disclosed. It doesn't matter anyway. Maple Drive is just a street. The Parker house is just a house. What happened in one of its bedrooms 2 years ago is just a memory now. My memory, part of my story. And I'm not running from it anymore. I tell Jake all the time, usually during our late night talks when he can't sleep or has something on his mind. Life's gonna throw things at you, hard things, unfair things, things that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself and the people around you. And when that happens, you'll have two choices. You can pretend it's not happening, close your eyes, cover your ears, hope it goes away on its own. Or you can face it, head on, even when it hurts, even when it changes everything. It won't be easy. It'll hurt like hell. It'll change you in ways you can't predict. But you'll survive. You'll get through it. And on the other side, you'll be stronger, more honest, more yourself. I know, because I did it. On Halloween night, at 2 a.m., I walked 2 houses down and rang the bell. I opened the door. I faced the truth. And it destroyed my marriage. It tore apart my family. It changed everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty and trust. But I survived. I'm still here, still standing, still breathing, still building a life worth living. And that's enough, more than enough. It's everything.